Ever since I was a child, I've had a strange fascination with stories. It started off with my mom reading storybooks to me, which is the basic three-pig story where the pig went from one house to another trying to blow the house away. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house away. And that was the first story I ever heard. And since then, my fascination just grew. I've taken a keen interest in fantasy more than non-fiction. So I went and I read Harry Potter, The Hardy Boys, and these books. And this curiosity with stories, I thought had died in me. Until very recently, about a month back or 2 months back, I was at this conference where I heard a man talk about the storytelling experience. And it told me that that curiosity in me had not died, it had just changed form. But I'll get more into that in a while. Contest chair, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kaustubh, and I will be talking about my storytelling experience and what storytelling is today. So just a bit of background. Storytelling has taken various forms in the past. It started with cave art, then it went on to books, it went on to silent motion pictures, it took the form of news, which is print media again, and till very recently in the late 1900s, we have seen that it transformed to motion pictures with sound. And each of these mediums has taken a shape in today's society in influencing thought processes. So storytelling did not die with just books for me. It went on to movies, it went on to other means. And today, in what hasn't changed about all of these mediums across the centuries is one thing, and that's the storyteller. There's one person in society who's not died and will not die for times immemorial and for the many days to come. That is the storyteller. And the storyteller is not a specific person like J.K. Rowling. It's not a specific person like Steven Spielberg who's going to direct a movie, write a book. It's these people, the common man of the day. It's you, me, everybody in this room. As Saxi told us his story today, it inspired us to change, to take the step to change ourselves. And it was a common man's story. So what has storytelling transformed into? Storytelling is transformed into what I feel is a peer-to-peer storytelling process. Instead of one person preaching to an audience, we have all found that we have a global audience and we ourselves are responsible to tell our story. Everybody in this room has a story worth telling. We all have had that one experience that has changed our lives for the better. And now all that's left to do is to speak up. And a very fresh idea of how to speak up is Story Corps. Story Corps is a brainchild of this man named David Issei. And he started off in 2003. It's a non-profit making organization. And what happens is that you are allowed to interview anybody. And it goes onto their portal and anybody around the world can listen to that interview. How it started off was, the inspiration that founded it was that the founder once found out that his dad was gay. And it was well into his mid-30s, the early 40s. And he found out that his dad was gay and he decided that he wanted to speak to his father about it. So he brought out his tape recorder, sat down with his father and conducted an interview. Well after his dad's passing away, David Issei picked up the tape recorder and just happened to have the cassette in it and listened to the tape again. He heard his dad's voice and he thought of this thing, that particular story was timeless. Regardless of whether a person is around or not, that story is timeless. And that's why he set up this interview booth at Grand Central Station in New York. And what happened was, everyday people like you and me could just walk into the booth and interview the opposite person. So there were couples who went in, there were parents and children, and there were boyfriends and girlfriends, and anybody you can think of went in and conducted the interview. This storytelling session has grown and grown and grown. And from one small booth at Grand Central Station, he expanded to two within 2 years. He set up 2 mobile booths, which looked like this. After that, he went on to gain funding and just gain more and more press. And now there's an application, so you and I can just sit down right after this session outside and can conduct our own interview and put it on the air for somebody to listen to. The question what I want to pose to you is, why was this successful? This was successful primarily because not only me, but all of us have this slight obsession with stories. We look to stories for inspiration. We look to expand our minds by just listening to another person. There's Humans of New York today. Have many of you heard of it? All right, so I see a few notes. Humans of New York is about a photographer traveling around New York and interviewing random people and just putting their picture up on Facebook. It's gathered millions of followers. And that tells me that there's a hunger in all of us to tell a story. And there's always a hunger in all of us to listen to one. So I tell you today that your story is not just unique to you. There's a million other people who are facing the same thing and looking to you for inspiration on how to get past it. So it's up to you today to speak up, to let the world know what you've conquered. Because everyone in this room has a story worth telling. What's left to do is to speak up. Thank you.